All right, former Florida coach Dan Mullen's got Georgia getting jumped by Michigan. I'm not sure I understand his explanation there. He's not the only one necessarily, but it is a little odd to me that sort of a routine win over Ohio State would get you to jump Georgia, a team that's got multiple top 10 wins. I'm not sure that I'm down with that. You tell me what you think. It does seem like Dan sometimes has got like this thing with Georgia. I don't know why he really cares. But look, after this past month in November, the way Georgia's played, you really can't legitimately, claim that someone's better than them right now. I don't think there's a legitimate explanation. You can talk in theory about it, but at no point in time against a ranked team has Michigan looked good. And as enough as Georgia's looked bad during the season, which I guess would be the Auburn game and the South Carolina game. And I think over the weekend shows you what it's like to play at Auburn. Um, Michigan has looked pedestrian at times. Their win over Maryland was, not great. And I didn't think they should be penalized for winning that game. They should not be jumping a Georgia. Not right now. Now, listen, as we get closer, I don't think that I don't think that you can legitimately jump the winner of Washington, Oregon over Michigan. On Sunday, but there you can make the argument. But I don't really think particularly if it's if it's Oregon with one loss, I don't really think that you could do that. Oregon is better than Michigan though. Like it's pretty clear right now that they are playing better. They're more explosive. Most everyone is more explosive than Michigan. That's just not Michigan's style. So I don't know why Dan Mullen he seems eager to do this sort of stuff. I mean, it was a bizarre take to me. Really, right now, anybody that's got someone over Georgia, you're going to have to explain it to me in ways that makes sense. And I don't know how you can do that, considering the way that that Georgia's playing. And now, listen, no matter if you stick Michigan over Georgia this week, if Georgia wins, there's no way that Georgia, with at that point 3 wins over top 11 or 12 teams, would be not the number one team in the country. I mean, they're probably still going to have a win over a ranked Tennessee. I don't know that Tennessee should be ranked, but they are. So I think that would be something that's a little too hard to pass up. But you cannot. I don't think it's fair to really do. Oh, this team played. They have common opponents. Florida State. LSU. They've got a common opponent with Alabama in that front. Florida State's got a common opponent with Georgia and Florida. And I'm pretty sure. Well, I know Georgia beat the Gators way worse than the Noles beat them, but Alabama and LSU, I don't recall. They were both relatively decisive wins in the third and fourth quarter for Florida State and Alabama. But this thing's shaping up pretty clear at this point to me. I mean, this so-called chaos. Everybody has seemingly forgotten about Texas and their win over Alabama. So there's a lot of sort of junk to still sift through. But I think for the Dogs, it's a relatively simple process. You win, you're in. I think there's plenty of scenarios where they don't win and they're in. It's just not as many processes. You'd need Florida State and Texas to both lose. I don't think that Texas and Florida State will both lose. I mean, we'll see, though. Hey, this is a great Christmas gift. I've already had multiple folks buy since I've been bringing this up. This is a autographed copy of Double Dawgs. When I say I'm running out, I'm not being facetious. I will run out of these before Christmas. Make sure you're ordering this today if you have interest in it, because I don't know how much longer I'll have it. We're going to see. So let me run through a couple of scenarios here in terms of I was going to talk about Kirk Herbstreit's top 4, and then I saw what Dan Mullen said on College Football Final, and I mean, it's not anything to like jump up and down about, but it is kind of a curious it was just a curious take to me. So I started to talk about it. I mean, Kirk had it the way that probably I listen. I would have Oregon in my top four because if this really should be about who are the best four teams, not who are the most four deserving at this moment. And I don't have rules about undefeated or not. I'm not so hard pressed on that particular thing. Okay, that's not something that really bothers me one way or the other. But Kirk had it the way probably I would, which is, Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2, UW at 3, Florida State at 4. I do not think it will wind up like that. I think it will be. Well, I think it will wind up Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Florida State. I think the winner of the Pac-12 game, whoever that person may be, will jump Florida State if Florida State wins. I mean, obviously they'll jump them if they lose. In a scenario where Florida State loses, you have Texas waiting in the wings. Now, if you're Texas, you got to be a little bit like, well, wait a second here. What are we supposed to do? But the regular season has to matter. And the Texas Longhorns, for me, have had a few too many close calls. I mean, the win over Alabama was excellent, no doubt about it. The way they played it against Wyoming a week later, having to, I think they were either tied or trailing Wyoming. I think they were tied with Wyoming in the fourth quarter. Wyoming, that shouldn't be happening. The loss to Oklahoma, they shouldn't have lost that game. They're the better team. They shouldn't have lost that game. Really tight game at Houston. And then back-to-back weeks of just not playing well. An overtime win over Kansas State at home, that was bad. And then you go on the road to TCU, a team that struggled this season, and you only beat them by a field goal. I mean, that's not what these other teams are doing. Georgia's out here killing people. Washington's doing this, but Washington's undefeated. So a 10-point win over Alabama is not an insignificant thing, no question. And it shouldn't be dismissed. I mean, the only teams, Alabama's not exactly racking up losses these days. But at the same time, you do have to take a look at everything. And, in Big 12 conference play, Texas has not been unbelievable. You lose a one-score game to Oklahoma. You beat you beat Houston on the road by one score. You beat Kansas State in overtime, and then you beat Texas Christian on the road in overtime. We're going to see what they do with Oklahoma State. They should certainly beat Oklahoma State. That's what I would say. But, are they one of the best four teams? I think you can make the case that they are better than Florida State. I don't know that you can make the case that they're one of the best four teams. I don't know if they're better than Ohio State or not or what, but we're just at the point here where it's evident what you did in your 12 games. You have one game to showcase to the rest of the world. I mean, Georgia, Bama, nobody else has got a game on at that time. The big, Pac-12 is on Friday night. Big 12 is at noon. SEC is at 4. ACC, Big 10, they're at night. And they're going head-to-head against each other. We're going to see the dominoes fall along the way. You're going to see UW and Oregon. Only one of those is getting in. You're going to see if Texas can make its case. Then you see Georgia, Alabama in a virtual playoff. Although, this is ridiculous to say because I don't believe that this is the way it should be or the way it would wind up. But it is possible that if Alabama wins, they don't go. I mean, I don't really know how you can make that argument. You win the best league in the country. And don't tell me about the Pac-12 being the best league in the country, okay? It's the most interesting league this year with Colorado and SC, but in Utah, all three of those guys fell apart. Now, Arizona had a good season, no doubt. So did, clearly UW and Oregon. Oregon is a serious threat to win the national championship. But the rest of that league, no, it's, when you got Kentucky out here thumping the ACC's number 2 team, I guess, just winning a game on the road like that tells you what you need to know about where, Florida, a team with a losing record, pushing Florida State to the limit. That's what the ACC's got to offer. And those are bottom half SEC teams. That's not Ole Miss and Missouri. Missouri, I'm going to be very curious what happens to Missouri in their bowl game because my suspicion is they're going to be very motivated to be there. I don't know where they'll play. They will not play in the Orange Bowl. But they would have that just is there's too much that has to happen for them to play in the Orange Bowl. But if Missouri plays in either the Fiesta, the Cotton, or the Peach Bowl, they're going to be ready to play completely. And I don't know if the other team is. It depends who they get. So, all due respect to the Pac-12, they've had the top end has been a lot of fun and very good, but after Arizona, it falls off pretty precipitously, I would say. I mean, it's just not as good of a league. So, look, if Alabama doesn't win it, they're not gonna get in. I don't know how I don't know how fair that is. Yeah, I mean Oregon State's kind of fallen. I mean they're 8-4. They had a good start to the season, but don't talk to me about anybody after Oregon State. Utah, who I love, they're just not good like they were last year. And then Colorado going 1-8 in the league, bad. UCLA, a total joke. Cal fighting their way, but this is not a good league. When you look at that, I mean, I just when you compare that league to the SEC, where you've got Alabama and Ole Miss and LSU, Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee, all those teams are at least 8-4. That's 6 8-4 teams. Now after that, it gets a little bit thin, no doubt. But that's 6 teams. The Pac-12 is not as good as that. It just isn't. I mean, I don't even. There's no point about talking about the Big Ten. They have 2 teams and that's it. No, I'm not talking about Penn State. You're a joke. So let's just see what happens as time goes on. I don't know why Dan. I just disagree with it. I think there's got to have a better explanation than Michigan beat Ohio State. Therefore, I wouldn't say that. How are teams playing? Who are they playing? And what are the results? What do they look like? That's what it is. Nothing about Saturday with Michigan, who could wind up winning the national championship. Nothing about Saturday, though, suggested that they're in position to be the favorite to do that. They're the betting favorite right now, but that's going to change as soon as the SEC championship and the weekend concludes. I mean, if Oregon, my guess is it's very possible that both Oregon and Georgia are in front of Michigan in terms of if those 2 teams win, they very possibly would jump in front of Michigan. But right now they both have, sort of do or die games. And even with that do or die game, Georgia is right there with Michigan in this thing. So we'll just see. That's what Dan Mullen thinks. You tell me what you think down below. Thanks for watching.